Hey, Scott, Sambucci here. I am the Chief Sales Geek over at Sales Qualia. That's my company. And our entire mission of our company is to help early stage B2B tech startups. We help them build repeatable, predictable, scalable sales processes. And what I want to do is, in this video, share with you an important piece of what we call the 9 sales accelerators. So over here on the right or left or wherever you're looking, these are the 9 sales accelerators that we work on with our clients every single day. And they're focused on how do we think about building the top of the funnel, how do we do our prospecting over here, right? How do we then convert those prospects into leads and pull them through our sales pipeline? And then, of course, at the end of that sales pipeline, how do we convert them to paying customers? And specifically today, what I want to talk about is this very first sales accelerator that I call funnel fillers. And so what I'm going to do is just map out a model, a very simple model to give you the core foundation of how you should be thinking about your funnel filling strategy and why it's so important to follow this foundation. Because if you don't follow this foundation, what ends up happening a lot of times is either one, you don't fill up the top of the funnel the way you need to, so you don't have enough leads coming in. Number two, you have the wrong leads altogether. Right? So if you're like, most startups out there, you know that you've got a big total addressable market, you've got that TAM that we talk about all the time. You've probably got a great product and you probably already have some really, really happy customers right now. And that's really a great foundation on which to sell to your future customers. But, if you don't get the right funnel filling strategy built out, then what ends up happening to your startup is that you end up stalling out. I think that's a fear that a lot of people have out there every day. And so instead, what you want to do when you're thinking about your funnel filling strategy, when you're filling the top of the funnel, what you want, of course, is more consistency, you want more repeatability, and you want more predictability so that you can build your pipeline and then make a bigger impact in your market. And so when you think about your funnel filling strategy, what I like to do is think in terms of visuals, right? So if you were to put my glasses on here so I can see, what we want to do is just draw a triangle here. And what we can do with the triangle is just put the flat bottom at the bottom and the pointy part at the top. And this will just be our core foundation model that we'll draw from. Just a really simple triangle, right? And in the middle, what we're trying to do here, what we want to explain is what we call funnel filler foundations. And the reason I like the triangle is that there's really 3 key parts here. There's 3 parts of building out the right funnel filler foundation. So the first part that we want to that has to be a key element. It's unequivocal. If you don't have this, you can't build an effective funnel filling strategy. The very first thing we need to have is our really good specific ICP, your ideal customer profile, right? If you don't have an ICP, stop right now. That's all I can tell you. Until you have a specific target customer, somebody who is your ideal customer profile, even if you're not 100% sure that's going to be your ideal customer profile forever, you need to start with an ICP for now so that you've got a better way of targeting, right? And the reason this is so important is that when you have an ICP, what that allows you to do is focus. It focuses your efforts, because what ends up happening if you do it the wrong way, and you've probably heard some of these terms before, right? You end up doing what's called spray and pray, right? I'm going to just blast a bunch of messages out there and pray that somebody gets back to me, right? The second thing you hear is what we call batch and blast, right? I'm going to put a big list of leads that I've purchased or scraped or accrued somehow from beeping badges at conferences, and I'm just going to blast them with a message. And the third mistake that a lot of people make is they try to sell to everyone, right? You've got that big total addressable market, you've got the big TAM, and you feel like, well, I don't want to miss out on any opportunities. There's this FOMO, fear of missing out, right? And so the way that we try to solve for that is just to sell to everyone that's out there. And instead, when you have the ICP, what this allows you to do is you go from this idea of spray and pray to what I call focus and find, meaning that you are going to focus in on a specific set of customer types, and then that allows you, as part of your prospecting, as part of filling the funnel, allows you to go find those people in a much more strategic way. Instead of doing spray and pray, what we want to do is move to what we call target 10. Instead of spraying and praying, what is the right way that we could be targeting, for example, if you could only sell to 10 customers right now, if you can only sell to 10 companies right now, who would those 10 be? Right? Ask yourself that question. We had Aaron Ross, who many of you have come across with his company, Predictable Revenue. We had him come in and do a training with our coaching group, with our clients. And this is one of the key parts of his training was to what he calls nail a niche. Right? We know we need to nail a niche. And his question to our group was, what if you could only sell to 10 customers? Who would those 10 be? And then the third piece, instead of selling to everyone, we want to sell to what I call the right ones. The right ones, meaning that those types of customers who we know that we can help with our product, with our service, right? And so when you do this, the very first thing that happens is that it allows you to focus in your messaging, right? So if we start here with our ICP, it allows us to focus our message to the marketplace. Because the second thing we need to be thinking about is, now that we've picked our ICP, the second foundation that we need to build as part of our funnel filling strategy is we need to look at sales, and we need to look at filling the funnel as what we call an everyday activity. Everyday activity. So too often what I see happening out there is that, startups, especially if you're strapped for resources or people or time, is that lead gen and filling the funnel becomes a sometimes thing. Right? It's like, oh, for a couple of weeks, I'm going to go work on filling the funnel. And then I'm going to take those leads and then I'm going to kind of work them through my sales pipeline. And if you end up with these swings where, some of the funnel filling activity that you've created may not have gotten you enough leads. And now you're in a sense of panic because you don't have the right leads in the funnel and in your sales pipeline, which means you've got a lot more pressure on yourself to actually convert the leads that you have, even though they're not part of your ideal customer profile. Or the other problem is that you're going out and you're converting the customers that you have in your pipeline, but you're not filling the top of the funnel with the next batch, so that if those convert and start to implement, you're not going to have a way to then have a more predictable way of getting revenue through your pipeline. And so, it's a really easy thing if you let yourself accept the fact that it's easy to make it an everyday activity. And one of the ways you can think about this is, who are the people? Where are the places? And just making this a priority for yourself. Scroll this so you can see that. People, places, priority, right? And what I mean by that, the people, this is really simple, right? This is just knowing who exactly am I targeting, and how do I, in an everyday way, go out and create conversations? How am I doing outreach with the right people every single day? The second is the places. Where are the places where I can go to create those conversations, right? So those could be spending a little bit of time on LinkedIn, like you are right now, if you're watching this LinkedIn Live. Second place is in their inbox. It could be, a place could be in a virtual or online conference right now. Where are the places where your target market is spending that time? And making sure that as part of that everyday activity, you're going to those places where your target prospects are spending time, and just making that, the third thing is just making it a priority, making sure that every single day, at the end of the day, like literally at the end of the day, how hard is it to do your, what I call do your 10, right? Could you easily take 30 minutes at the end of a day, or 30 minutes at the beginning of the day before you crack open email and Slack and all the other craziness that's going on in your business every single day, before you do that work? Could you sit down on LinkedIn and find 10 people that match your ICP, 10 specific buyer types at those target customers, and do something as simple as send them a LinkedIn connection request? Could you do that? Yeah, you could, right? If you really asked yourself. But what ends up happening is that it becomes a later thing, right? Another way to make this a priority is to set up a really simple outbound email sequence, right? So that you don't have to sit there and think about what emails to send or who to send it to. What if you had a small list of 10 or 20 or 100 target prospects, and you just built a really simple sequence for them, right? Maybe that simple sequence is something like, I'm going to send email number 1, I'm going to send email number 2, I'm going to send them a LinkedIn connection request. That's my third touch. And then if I have their phone number, right, maybe the fourth thing I'm going to do is send a phone call, and the fifth one is an email. You just built out a 5-touch outbound sequence that you could very easily run and make an everyday thing. If you had a list of 100 of your target people, not just 100 companies, but target prospects, the buyers you know you need to speak with, whether it's an economic buyer, a technical buyer, a product champion, a potential champion out there, a user, right? You could get a list of 100 and very easily put them through a very simple 5-touch outbound sequence. But again, this requires you making it a priority. It's easy to say, well, I'll make it a later thing, or I'll wait till I hire an SDR to do that for me, or gosh, I just don't have the time, or I don't have the systems to do that. If you want to fill the top of the funnel in a consistent way, in a repeatable way, and get more predictability, you've got to make filling the funnel an everyday activity. So if you're not making it an activity, you're just not going to be filling the top of the funnel. You're going to be in this feast and famine scenario, right? And so if you do this, if you're doing, the good news is that if you're doing this on an everyday basis, then just like with the ICP, you get really, really clear on your message that you're sending out as part of that activity, as part of that filling the funnel strategy. The nice part about this is that you can focus on conversations, not conversions. You can focus on conversations, not conversions. What do I mean by that, right? So if we're pressed, if we're feeling pressure, like I got to get more leads, I got to get more deals in the pipeline, I got to convert more deals. If you're feeling that pressure because you have a sparse number of leads coming into the top of the funnel, you don't have a predictable way to wake up on a Monday morning and know that last week, while you're working on product stuff, or while you're working on pipeline, or while you're working on implementation, if you spend a whole week not doing any kind of lead generation activity, anything to fill the top of the funnel, you're going to wake up today and go like in a panic. You're going to be looking for people to convert into a meeting. You're going to be pushing for the meeting. And whenever you push for the meeting, what happens? You don't get the meetings, right? But instead, if you've got a lot more consistency and a lot more repeatability, and you know that, hey, I can take a week away from doing the fill the funnel strategy because I know I've got an outbound, a short outbound sequence working. Or I know that last week, while I spent most of the week focused on product, or most of the week working on implementations, there was a 2-hour online event where I could go to the place where my prospects are hanging out and identify who some of those people are and connect with them and message with them. So you know that even though it was a small amount of time that you spent, you know it's highly effective. So that when you come back to working on the top of the funnel and you're trying to get those meetings, you don't have to focus on like, gosh, we don't have anybody to talk to, I got to book a bunch of meetings. Instead, you can focus on conversations that with those people to identify even if they're a fit. And even if they are a fit, is now a good time for them to think about making a change or investigate a new solution like yours. And so by making it everyday activity, it takes the pressure off away from conversions and instead allows you to focus on the conversations. And those conversations are what builds trust and allows you to have a much more effective communication strategy and a much more effective relationship with those future customers. Okay? So number 1 is ICP. Number 2 is making it an everyday activity. Number 1, ICP. Number 2, let's make this an everyday activity. And the third thing we need to do as part of that funnel filling strategy, third thing, not second thing, is add value. We need to be thinking about how we add value. And what I mean by that specifically is, think about yourself. Like you're on the receiving end of how many LinkedIn emails, like messages coming into you. You're getting emails, cold emails all the time, right? And how many times did those cold emails start with, I wanted to get in touch with you because I wanted to talk about my product. I wanted to see about getting you on a product demo, right? There's no value there. And that's frustrating. It's annoying. Nobody wants to have those messages. And so as part of your funnel filling strategy, what you need to be doing is thinking about when you're out there talking to your target prospects, how are you adding value to them? And there's 3 ways you can think about this. Number 1, I like to think about the idea of information. How can I share information with my target prospect that they would find useful? Like I remember when I was doing sales at Altos Research, right? It was about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, where I was head of sales and then eventually COO at Altos Research. And we were selling data, real estate data, to the financial market. So some of our customers were financial market traders on Wall Street. They were trading residential mortgage-backed securities, like a certain type of security that that traders would trade, and a place where our data would be particularly useful. And in those sales calls, as I'm doing my outbound, as I'm talking with people that entered the top of our funnel because they downloaded our white paper or they came to a webinar, a lot of times the conversations were not about our product. The conversations were about me sharing information. Because if I'm talking to 10 or 20 different traders that are trading the same types of securities or the same genre of mortgage-backed and mortgage-related securities, now all of a sudden, like, I actually have some expertise. I can share ideas. I can share information, and that adds value. I could say, hey, I was just talking to Tony over at XYZ, and one of the things that he shared with me is that what he's seeing in the market is this or that. What are your thoughts? Now all of a sudden, I become the cog in the middle of this entire ecosystem. Something as simple as sharing that kind of information could be really, really useful, right? The second way to think about this is education. As part of your funnel filling strategy, how are you educating your market, right? So whether those are working with your marketing team or creating a very simple content selling strategy around like a short webinar or a podcast or speaking at an event or writing an ebook, some way of educating your market and using that as part of your outreach, using that as leverage to create those conversations that you want to have, to show your ideal customer profile that you've got a perspective on the market that you can teach them something, right? Because what that allows you to do, if you're sharing information, if you're creating an environment of education, what that allows you to do is then get to a place of separation, where you can separate yourself from the rest of the pack. You can separate the old way versus your way, which is the new way. And if you do those three things right, I actually think about this word indoctrination. How do we indoctrinate our prospects into our way of thinking? How do we teach them about their problem in a way that they go, wow, I never thought about it that way, right? And so if you're doing this the right way, if you target your ICP and you're making prospecting and you're making filling your funnel an everyday activity and you're adding value to them, what ends up happening is that you end up becoming an expert. You become an expert for your market, right? And when you become an expert, now they actually want to talk to you. It's not just about booking the meeting and seeing the demo and 17 clicks and ta-da, what do you think? They know that you can teach them something, you can show them something, you can share some kind of information with them. And so as part of your funnel filling strategy is you think about these foundations of how are you going to effectively fill the funnel with the right customers, right? So you're not spraying and praying, that you can target those 10 perfect customers that you can focus and you can find the right ones, not sell to everyone. The more you can focus on problems, the more you can focus on expertise, then the higher the likelihood is that you're going to have better engagement and better conversations. And so the best part about all of this, which is what I feel like is the most important part of this entire model, this entire foundational strategy, is number one, when you are clear on your ICP, you talked about your ideal customer profile. When you're clear on your ICP and you're very good at your messaging and you're making it an everyday activity, what you end up getting in your sales process is a sense of clarity. You get clarity. You get clarity because you know exactly who you're targeting, and even better, the prospects know why you're targeting them. Like, how many times have you gotten a message, an outbound email, a cold email from somebody, and you're like, why the heck am I on this list? I get these all the time. People that are producing mobile apps, ask me like, hey, we can build a mobile app for you. Well, I don't need a mobile app. We're not a software company. That's not what we do. Or people looking for outsourced engineering services. They're blasting me with emails just because I'm listed as a founder in the startup industry, right? So they have no clarity, and I have no clarity as to why they're even targeting me in the first place, right? So if you're really, really good at targeting your ICP, you're really good at making it an everyday activity, number one, the message is really clear for both sides. And number two, you have clarity in terms of your strategy. You just know, like, hey, prospecting, filling the funnel is an everyday activity because we know we need to do this as a key part of building out a repeatable sales process, right? It's clarity for your team to know that sales is a top priority every single day. It's not a sometimes thing. Sales is an everyday thing. It's an everyday activity, right? If you're not filling the top of the funnel, then you're risking the ability to grow later on down the road. So number one is you get clarity. Number two, if you're focused on conversations and not conversions up here, if you focus on conversations and instead of conversions, then what you get is a lot more control. You get a lot more control in your sales process. What do I mean by that? Why do you get a lot more control? Well, number one, you're not freaking out and trying to book the one meeting from the one lead that came in last week, hoping that that one meeting is going to lead to a sale in 3 months' time. So you have this sense of control, like, hey, if I have enough leads coming in, it actually allows me to sort out who is a real lead and who's not a real lead, who is a now person, who's not a now person, who fits our ICP and who doesn't, right? If you've got leads coming in a predictable way, in a repeatable way, if you know that on a Monday after a week where you haven't really spent a whole lot of time filling the top of the funnel, but you can go into your CRM and see, hey, we just generated 20 new leads. People that are interested in hearing more about our product, or people that have opted in to our email list, or people that have opted into our webinar that we're running. Now you've got more control because you can say, hey, of those 20, maybe 2 or 3 are the right fit and the other ones are not. And that gives me, I don't know about you, but that just completely relieves the stress, as opposed to waking up on Monday knowing you have 2 new leads and you're like, crap, now what do I do this week, right? It also, think about it from the prospect's standpoint. Think about it from their standpoint. When you're focusing on conversations, not conversions, it gives them the sense that there's more, for them, more control, right? It's more about you creating conversations. It's engagement. It's a way for them to know, like, hey, there's a real person on the other side who isn't just trying to push me into some product demo that might not even be a good fit. It gives them a sense of control of the process. And when you end up giving control, or at least appearing to give control, you actually keep control in the sales process. Your prospects are going to be a lot more likely to engage with you if you're creating conversations as opposed to sending cold emails and trying to book a 45-minute demo with them. So control is the second piece. And the third piece down here with being an expert, focusing on value, focusing on information and education and separation so you can get to a place of indoctrination, then this third piece, this expert piece, is all about confidence. It's all about confidence. So it gives you confidence to know that you can solve the problems that your target customers have, right? It gives you the confidence to later on down the road charge the price you deserve to charge for your product, because you know that your solution is going to solve a major problem for that target customer. So it should give you a lot more confidence to do the messaging, to do the outbound, to do the funnel filling strategy instead of the batch and blast and feeling badly when you hit the send button. Right? We've probably all done it. You're like, I'm going to load up these 1,000 contacts and I'm just going to like hit send. I know it's a crappy thing to do and I don't want to do it. And I feel, unconfident doing it, but geez, I got to get some demos. I got to get some meetings on the book. So I hope that 3 or 4 people get back to us. But what if instead we flipped it over? What if you knew that you're going to send those 1,000 people something valuable, something that they could use, something that would allow them to learn more about their problem and learn about new ways to think about their problem? Then that would give you the confidence to hit send. Like, I can't wait to hit send, because when I hit send, those 1,000 people are going to get something really, really useful. And for them, for that prospect, again, on the other side of things, it should give them the confidence to engage with you the right way, because they know it's not about just pushing them into some demo. It's like, wow, like here's a company that's helping me understand my problem. Here's a company that's got a new perspective on things. Here's a company that's looking at the old way versus the new way. It's actually helping me think about my work every single day. So it gives them a lot more confidence to engage with you, because they know they don't have to worry about getting on a call and getting pitched. They know it's going to be a real conversation with somebody who's really interested in helping them solve their business problems every day. So those are the 3 core pillars. Number one, if you want the funnel filler foundations, number one, get really, really clear on your ICP so that you can focus. Number 2, you've got to make filling the funnel an everyday activity, focusing on the right people in the right places and making it a priority every single day. And number 3, as part of that funnel filling foundation, you've got to be thinking about how are you adding value to your target prospects so that you can educate them, you can separate yourself from the pack, you can indoctrinate them. And if you do those things, you'll get a lot more clarity, you get a lot more control, and a lot more confidence in your sales process, which ultimately, this foundation, this funnel filling foundation, is all about how do you make a bigger impact in your market. Because if you don't generate new leads, if you don't get those conversations, if you don't get those people into your sales pipeline and ultimately get to work implementing with them, then you're not going to grow your company and you're not going to make the impact that you set out to make in the first place. So So that's it. So that's Sales Accelerator number 1, funnel fillers and the core foundations around that funnel filling strategy up here. So as we go along, I'm going to do a couple more of these and walk you through each of these 9 sales accelerators in the coming couple of weeks. Again, if you want some help with this, if you think that funnel filling strategy is something where you've got a weakness or you need some help, then the easiest thing you do is just either comment below. You can type the word funnel, or you can just send me a DM, and in that DM, just tell me that you watched this. You watch this quick lesson here around funnel filling foundations. You want to learn more about how we can help you implement some of these foundations. Then we can hop on a phone with me or somebody on my team and figure out how we can help you out. And if you're listening to this later on a podcast, then just shoot me an email, Scott, SCOTT, at salesqualia, QUALIA.com. And same thing, just write the word funnel or private in the subject line. Just let me know that you listened or watched this video. Shoot me a note, and we'll hook up on a quick call to see how we can help you out. So that's it for now. All right. Love to hear your comments, thoughts, suggestions on this. First time using this little setup here, so pretty excited to be able to bring this to you, share this model with you, and most importantly, share these ideas so that you can ramp up and scale up your sales process. All right, that's it for now. This is Scott Sambucci over at Sales Qualia, signing off.